Hey guys, can you hear me okay? This is I'm trying out a new technology here. I'm working on a laptop and I don't know if you guys can hear me okay or anything, but let me know what you're thinking. Hi Betsy. Um you can hear me. All right, awesome. So I'm just giving this a try because um I'm gonna be doing hopefully some OBS stuff, which if you don't know, that's like when you put like a live feed to some video up in this corner and comment here, and uh, you're able to kind of make it more interactive and have stuff. But let's just get the uh, cat out of the bag, I guess. Last night / this morning, I killed a bunch of my fish, and I'm pretty upset today because I killed all three of my Tatia mosaicas, the orca catfish, if you will. Um, and I noticed one last night that looked stiff, like rigid, and I thought, uh-oh, it looks dead. I touched it, it swam off. It didn't look bad any other way, but it was just sitting there oddly, like towards the surface. So I thought, well, maybe it needs more oxygen. So I turned the oxygen up. Then I go to another tank, and mind you, the tank that they're in, I have just treated for ick and stomach parasites because I've had wild catfish in there, plecos. And so with plecos, usually if they look fine, I still treat them anyways for parasites, especially if they're wild caught. And I will usually do some sort of dewormer and like general cure or Paragard, something like, something along those lines, and ICX and erythromycin. So, and this tank, I had just finished those batches with. So I thought maybe something in that mixture stressed the system of these fish, which are pretty sensitive fish. And I didn't tell anybody, but those Tatio mosaicas, they laid eggs 4 days ago. And they laid these eggs that were a, a pretty good size. I'm trying to find something around here that's of the same size, but almost like a BB from a BB gun, almost that big. And they were clear, and the ones that were fertile were kind of a orange or dusty color, like a tan color, and they were on the glass. And at first, I thought that they were Corydora eggs from the Julii Corydora there, but they were way too big to be that. And they're the only species that lays eggs in that tank other than the Corydoras. That, and when I went to get the eggs, I was accosted by two of the Tatia mosaicas. So I put the eggs into the shrimp tank down below, the hot shrimp tank, the shrimp tank that I keep at around 80 degrees, 78, 80 degrees, the 10 gallon. And I put them in cotton gauze, acrylic gauze, not cotton, but like filter floss. And I rolled the eggs in that filter floss and then twisted it off, thinking that the shrimp and snails wouldn't be able to get to it that way. Well, that was incorrect. And so 4 days ago, 2/3 of those eggs were gone. So I then took the same approach and put them into a little housing box, and there are about 5 or 6 eggs in this little incubator type thing. And I was so excited thinking these don't breed in captivity well. There's only 1 or 2 reports of Tatia mosaica ninja woodcats breeding in captivity. Somehow I did it on accident, and that is friggin' awesome. So I was pretty excited. Even though some of the eggs had gotten eaten by shrimp and snails, I thought, whatever, we still have about 10 eggs. We're good. Sorry, my allergies are bad. And so I ended up waiting a couple days, checking on those eggs like a mama bear checks on her eggs. I don't know. And I noticed that the little fish were actually developing. I could see that they were growing very quickly each day, each little size of the fish. And it confirmed that they weren't Corydoras eggs. They were, in fact, the eggs of Tatia mosaica. So I do have to say that I have probably 7 that seem to be growing okay. Eggs from the Tatia mosaica. Maybe they'll make it. I don't know. But all 3 of the adults were dead by this morning. And I don't know how much you guys know about the channel if you're watching and tuning in. I'm usually showing you guys all my tanks and stuff, but I'm trying to do this format, see how the computer worked. I got a microphone, see if the sound works and everything. But I just didn't want to go look at that tank right now, honestly. In that tank this morning, I found the 3 dead Tatia mosaicas, which look like little orca catfish. And they're not cheap either. They're like $30 to $50. So for me, it was an investment. But beyond that, it's been an investment taking care of them and trying to keep them in a low pH, like a 5.0 to 6.0 water. And I've been trying to do that. And it worked out for about 6 months, I guess, or however long it's been, 5, maybe longer. I don't know. Times escape me, but those are the ones that I'm really damaged emotionally right now about. I didn't think I would care that I lost some catfish. I didn't think that I would. It's not a cat or a dog, right? But I had made it a challenge that I wanted to get these catfish to reproduce, and that hadn't been done in captivity very often. Oddball Aquatics, I think, and Greg Sage, I think, were the 2, and then somebody in Germany that have had it. And thanks, Gary, and thank you, Betsy, for holding down the chat and moderating and all that stuff. I appreciate it. We'll get to something else soon, but I just wanted to let you guys know that those died. Another Starlight pleco died, and 2 longfin super red plecos all died last night. 3 different tanks. So a lot of money worth of fish. And that's a sad thing, but these fish have been like something that like I put my heart and soul into. I care about them. I've shared them with you guys. I have cared for them. I come in, I, change the water twice a week because I like keeping them very fresh. They've just been what I've put my heart into. And I think I pampered them too much because I kept their specifications so perfect in this narrow range, and they were used to like a TDS of like 110 on the nose and a pH of 5.5 to 6.0, and that changes at night and in the day anyways just because of life. um but and Jeff Griffin, I agree that that would be something I'd look at, but I know what part of the problem is, if not all of it. So it's gotten cold here in Seattle. You'd think that I would have known this, but this is the first year that I've set up a fish room, quote unquote, in my bedroom, in a downstairs bedroom. Before that, my fish tanks have all been on the top floor, which is the third floor. And um, it stays warmer because hot air rises. We have people living below us. My wife keeps our bedroom fairly warm usually, and so the tanks upstairs at which like last year I had 4 tanks upstairs. This year I've really stepped it up into how many things I'm breeding because I've been active on YouTube, right? So I want to share that with you guys. I've been trading in everything I sell or trade in. I've been working my way up. I've been using the super chats and the Patreon stuff to take care of the fish. I've been spoiling them, getting them like black worms and live fish, daphnia, algae, like whatever it is. I've been trying to take care of these fish. And I got hit by lightning. I was having a hard emotional time. I've been stuck at home. I can't drive really right now because that's considered a seizure legally. And they take your license for 6 months in our state. And so I've been at home. I haven't been working, and these fish have really become special to me. And researching them and knowing like that they have chromosomes that work differently than any other animal in the world, and just what incredible creatures they are, and that those were from the Zangu River, and it's been dammed, and they're not going to be coming out of that area as much, that type, and they're so hard to breed in captivity. I just feel like I failed them, and I did, but there's a part of me in there that I'm projecting. Like, that's why we love our pets, right? I mean, we love them for what they are and who they are, but we also love them for the memories we've created with them, and with these fish, with 2 super red pleco juvenile, I mean, like year-olds, and a 2-year-old set. They were probably about 2. I don't know. I've had them 6 months or 7 months, whatever it was, of Tatia mosaicas. They are beautiful. If anything's wrong with their water, you know right away because they turn kind of a yellow cream color. Like, they tell you what's up. They've got these spines. I got pricked by the spine of one of them, and it swelled up like some sort of venom or agitating chemical or something in there. They're just unique and interesting, and I went through some hoops to get them, and they're all dead in one night. And the reason is really stupid. It's not water mineralization or anything like that. It's that it got cold last night, and I didn't have the heater on in the bedroom. We have radiant heat that's from the 60s in this house, like floorboard radiator heaters. And I didn't turn on the heater. We haven't needed it yet this year. I haven't had fish in that room either. But this morning I went in there around 6 o'clock, and I noticed some dead fish. And they're the fish that like high temperatures, some of the plecos and some of the catfish. and their tank water was 68 degrees. So even though my heater, I have a 200 or 300 watt heater in some of these tanks, just in case, right? Well, the room was like 50 some degrees, and it dropped and it just killed the fish. And thinking about it, I should have known better. I should have thought, oh, it's winter. I haven't had a fish in this room before. But I just didn't think the temperature would drop that much at night and then radiate into the tanks. But I also had tanks on stands that are open to the air 360 on racks, basically. And then beyond that, they're all sponge filtered and hang off the back filtered, but definitely sponge filter, which is churning up and with power heads, that's moving the water. It cools down the water way quicker. Like that's what you do when, yeah, so when it's hot out. So beyond losing like whatever, probably $400 or more, $500 worth of fish, I lost my favorite fish. And that's coming after I lost a starlight pleco when I got my L144s. There was some sort of attack and a bacterial infection between the two. And that's when aquaticarts.com sent me out 3 Peclata comptas, the leopard frog plecos. Well, the other fish that didn't do well last night were my panda loaches. And they're like my third favorite fish in the fish room. And they 3 of the 5 died. Not to mention they're like $30 for a little fish, but they're endangered in the wild. And if you buy them, you have an obligation to take care of them because you've brought them out of the wild. And to me, if I'm buying wild fish that are endangered, I should be taking care of them and trying to get them to propagate and trying to bring them to the hobby so they don't need to be taken out of the wild. They don't need to be taken out of the wild. I wanted to look at them. I think they're beautiful. And yeah. Other thing that died was like pretty much everything Caradina in the bottom tank, in the Devon tank. So the fact that I have such good water circulation, it killed the fish with the cold of the night. So one night, I'm still counting up how many died. But I lost. I didn't have to pay for it all because of great people like Flip Aquatics and Aquatic Arts and Lucas at Lucas Bretts. But the Caradinas, they can't take a temperature change. And the room being 55 or whatever it got down to early in the morning, that water, because of all of the hammering I do on this channel of have good circulation, have spots where everything's moving. That way it breaks up algae, it breaks up biofilm and protein film, and it gets nutrients everywhere, and it gives the fish exercise. It was that surface agitation that cooled down the water so much quicker. And that they were in that fish room for the first time. I didn't insulate the walls, especially. There's a window facing the outside, and yeah. So I lost my favorite fish. I lost the starlight pleco, 2 super reds, most of my Caridina shrimp that were in there. Luckily I did put Caridina shrimp in some of the bigger tanks. 40 gallons, things like that take longer to cool down. And all the tanks upstairs, surprisingly, were fine. They seemed to be fine. But they just died from shock, I guess. And the room is heated. I just haven't turned on the floorboard heater. It's incredibly expensive to run these 1960s heaters we have in there. So I might get like one of those dish heaters or something, but we have to watch our electricity, just in the hobby in general. But it's easier to heat a room than to heat each tank, and it's more effective. And I'm right at that cutoff where it's probably cheaper to heat the room. So this winter, I will probably be insulating that room, putting some like blackout blanket quilts over the window, and heating the room rather than the tanks, and then keeping heaters on at like 76 or something, just in case that dips down. But yeah, so also just a few odds and ends, guppies that were dead. Now I've got ick in 2 tanks, and that's just because they were stressed, the stress of all this. All uh my baby um L144 longfin, yellow or white plecos, the babies that were born, the 50 or 60 babies that were probably born. I need to get a good count on them, actually, but they seem to be okay. Uh, yeah. Where do I live, Naked Reefer? I live in Seattle, Washington. It's cold like this every year. It's just the first year that I've had my fish room set up this way in this house. Uh, Before, I've always had 2 heaters to be safe, and the tanks are in a living space that remains heated to at least 65 degrees, if not 70 degrees, because of my wife. She likes the house a little warmer, and it works out for my fish hobby. But you also lose a lot of moisture. But this just brings up a whole other thing. I guess, I mean, I can't just come on here and cry about this and pout, but it just speaks to something about being a fish keeper, a pet owner, that you try your best, you learn how you screwed up, and you try not to let it happen again. And I'm sure you all have stories if you've been taking care of fish for some time. I mean, I'm keeping fish from Africa, from Australia, from mountains in Colombia to brackish water of the Aru Islands. I mean, like, there's different habitats, and I'm already playing a balancing game with some of them. And yeah, if you know everything that's been going on, the fish have really become my world. Lately, we can't have cats and dogs here. Um, I have PTSD from the lightning. Just when cars go by, even we live on a busy street, like loud trucks go by, my heart races, and I'm still recovering mentally from the lightning, in a structural sense, like not in a just like, oh, I'm feeling stressed, but actually like finding words and stuff. I try to do these live casts when I am rested up and everything, but like today, it's thrown me all off. Like all day, I've been flustered. But it was just a real bummer to have to toss out those beautiful Tatio mosaicas that I petted them when they were dead, like they just died, and they were like silky to the touch, and just like I've swam with dolphins and I've petted dolphins before, and it sounds silly, but they felt kind of like that. Um, and never could I pet those darn fish. They they were mean. They ate like peacock basses. So you have to remember too, these are the fish that if you recall in videos, I woke up at 3 or 4 in the morning, like at least 3 times, if not 4 or 5 nights a week, and I would feed them by hand to wean them off of just eating live food so that they would eat other food. They were wild caught, and yeah. So in any case, it's sad. And it's ultimately it's ultimately my fault. It's ultimate if you keep fish and you allow them to die. It's ultimately your fault, but it's not out of maliciousness. Obviously, why would I do that? Just to upset myself? Just to lose money and see a beautiful creature gone? No. So the thing that I am most upset about is that some of these rare fish I have an ethical problem almost already keeping. Like these fish are caught in the wild, and I'm happy that like the people who fish for some of these fish have a job and they're not illegally strip mining or burning down and clear cutting for palm oil plantations, the forest. They're using whether it's bucephalandra or fish or eggs or plants, whatever it is, they're going out and they're harvesting on a smaller level. These are like groups of 1 to 5 people, and then they bring them to their regional area. And when you're out in a dense jungle, uh, yes, that's not the best thing to be doing. Uh, it's better in some countries where they oversee that, but just like with bucephalandra, almost all bucephalandra you buy online, unless it's like 35 or 40 bucks, most of it is from the wild, or rhizome mats that were from the wild, and you're paying someone who scraped it off a rock and is potentially ruining the ecosystem in the rainforest somewhat. And to me, if you're going to do that, and that already exists in the market because of demand, so it's because of us, and it's not like if you're just getting into the hobby, it's not because of you. If you've been in the hobby and you buy these things, it is because you put money towards it. But my point is just basically that if you're going to take beautiful creatures that are already on the verge of extinction, you have a complete obligation and duty to do everything you can to take care of them and, in my opinion, propagate them and try to prevent it so that they don't need to be taken from the wild. And it's not that they need to be taken, there's no need involved. It's want. Aquarium fish keeping is a desire. It's not a it's not needed. It's not a necessity of life. This is a selfish endeavor in that sense. It's a hobby that makes us happy, so we do it. Um, but I think there are responsible ways to do it, and learning from your mistakes, doing your best, researching. Don't buy fish you can't take care of. And that's what's so frustrating about this is it was an oversight. It was not turning on the baseboard heaters. And these animals were collected from the wild and are dead for nothing. And it's really frustrating. And that's just something to think about. And I don't know if anybody else. I'll look at the chat in a second. I know it's kind of going quick. I see people have different opinions and they're running around, but I'm a tough critic of the pet trade, and man, my hair is getting too long. You know what? That's way worse. Basically, to me, if you have a pet, it's for your happiness. You're not doing it a favor usually. Even if it's a rescue animal, yeah, then I get that. But I mean, for a fish, you're not doing it a favor taking it out of the wild necessarily. You may give it a longer life, but yeah. So let me look at the chat real quick. If you have any questions, feel free to ask anything. But Jess, thank you. Jess, Shrimp Granny said, Alex, you introduced a whole lot of people to a new type of fish and new types of fish, and now they want to keep them. And so I hope, if that's true, I hope that people are keeping them and trying to breed them. If you're keeping rare fish that are not plentiful in the wild, please, this is like a plea to the community, try to reproduce them, try to breed them, because we want to stop taking things from the wild if we can, okay? Peter L., I feel for you. One of my guppy batch fry died to the mistake. That was the point my girlfriend had to buy more guppies. Yeah, I mean, I've lost guppies and stuff, and I know some people are just as close to your betas or betas, or a goldfish. But I do have to say it's a little different when you have a fish that requires special care, when you have to prepare its food for 15 minutes, and then you have to feed it by hand at 4 in the morning, or it won't eat, and like you have to keep the temperature right, and you have to add 10 catappa leaves a week to that tank, and have like it's a lot of work, and I was really trying, and it's all in vain if you overlook the really easy things. And so that's why it's important, to have a routine and to think about things seriously. And it was just an oversight, and I want to be real with you guys that I screwed up, and now I'm missing a lot of our favorite fish on the channel. I still have 3 starlight plecos. I have 4 super reds with long fancy tails. I have 4 green long-tail plecos, 3 short-tail green dragon plecos, and then I have the 2 plus all their babies, L144 yellow skin, blue-eyed, long fin plecos, plus the 3 itsy bitsy teeny weeny yellow polka dot bikini leopard frog plecos. Yeah. All right, let me look at some things. No, Alan, the wood cats are what died. Yeah. That's what I was saying. I requested these fish, I saw them, and I was like, these are beautiful. I need to find some. And then when I got them, I found out they weren't actually Tatia mosaicas. They were some other new undescribed fish. And we had an ichthyologist from UW look at them, and he was like, yeah, they don't have the same markings. They've got a venom spike fin. And, I think I paid $30 a piece, and that was like a crazy good deal because I got them from the guy who brought them from Colombia, up from Brazil, however they made their way up here. And they're hard to get a hold of. They live in several river basins, but this strain lives in a river that was dammed up, and now they're not reproducing like they should be. And I trained them. They're finally off needing live food. They finally would eat like freeze dried or not freeze dried, but frozen bloodworms and Daphnia, stuff like that. But at 4 in the morning, 3 in the morning, when I was feeding those fish, when I was putting my hand in the water and they'd nip it, and they'd actually get my finger sometimes and snap it pretty hard. They struck like a little bass, and they do these little shark rounds, and like they're just such personality filled little fish. The plecos are beautiful, and I'm sad I lost some of them, but I really put a lot of time and research into the pH and the water and the TDS and the minerals. And when I was treating it, any sign of anything, if the fish in the tank above it sneezed, I would treat them or move them, and they're gone. So hopefully the eggs hatch. They're growing, but out of a species that needs 5.0 pH water or lower and has only been raised in small batches, like 25% survival of the eggs, by 2 documented people in the US and 1 or 2 others in Germany and Czech Republic. I'm not the most optimistic about the eggs, but I'll keep you guys posted if anything good happens there. I just have a feeling that the eggs will hatch and these little fingerling or these little wigglers won't last long. Alyssa, thank you. I appreciate that. The shrimp are sad too, but I don't have an emotional relationship with my shrimp like I do with a fish that I interacted with. And basically, it's kind of like if you work every day, you work hard, and you save up and you buy yourself your first car or something. If that got totaled, it'd be like all my hard work. So there's a selfish nature of like I put all this time and energy into these stupid fish, and now they're just gone for naught. Um, but at the same time, the part that really gets me keeps coming back to the whole thing about us as fish keepers. We keep these fish out of a want, not a need. We're not eating them, and that's our only choice of food. We keep them because we like to keep them, and because they are beautiful and interesting, and they enrich our lives, but they are not needed necessarily. I can easily say, though, as we've discussed in other videos, that fish have saved my life, and that is the hobby, the routine, the beauty of fish and plants and nature, and knowing that someone, even if insignificant, is relying on my care, and I'm important to that thing. Just that little bit makes some people get through a day that's a rough day. Whether that's reasonable or that sounds preposterous to you and it's a chemical imbalance in the brain, different people get different things from this hobby. And for a lot of people, it is a way to find meaning and purpose in your life, to care for something else. And for me, I really like keeping species that are hard to keep, and I like trying to breed them so that we don't have to take them out of the wild. The sooner we can get them bred, figured out how to breed them and everything, the better. The better. But these ones may just not be around anymore because nobody's figuring out how to breed these woodcats very well. The honeycomb woodcats people have figured out, some of the other woodcats, but nobody can figure these ones out very well. And they're very nocturnal, like only nocturnal. And this morning, seeing him at the top in the daylight, I knew it was bad. Okay, let's see here. Yeah, we'll try to make the next video a cheerful one. This was just kind of an update. So I might be a little touchy if someone is asking like, "Hey, how are the whatevers?" And I'm like, "Oh, they're dead." I probably won't want to go into it super deep in the future. This is just kind of whatever. I'm just reading through the comments real quick. Um, uh, yeah, dozens of fish, and the other fish that died were like some tetras. The other thing is now a bunch of fish have ick, and that's because of stress. So you don't want to like correct the system by like just cranking the heat back up. You bring it back up over the course of 2 days usually. I mean, you get it to their healthy range immediately, but you keep it on the low end of that range, and then you can turn it back up after a day of that in between range. But I really want to be feeding them whole good foods, veggies that are blanched, things like that. Spirulina, brine shrimp, baby brine shrimp that are fresh, things like that. Yeah. But the bummer part about this is that, you know, I think uh, I think that in a lot of situations you're like, oh, you know what? I put iron in. And that was another thing that I had happen a while back was I put some iron in a aquascape and it killed some shrimp. Like that's not supposed to happen that way at the dosage amounts from everything I read, but it did. Nothing can convince me otherwise because I literally put the iron in, and an hour later, 7 shrimp had floated to the top, which they don't usually float either. So they had swelled something in their stomach or whatever. Neocarditis, by the way. But yeah, so I'm just looking at comments. All right. I think I got everything read. There's nothing too critical that I need to. Okay. So I just wanted to let you guys know, um, Jess, that's sweet of you to say that after this I'll be a better fish keeper. But I don't think I learned that much in that, like, I know those fish shouldn't have been cold. I didn't think that room would get cold. It's a guest bedroom. I don't stay in that room. It's in the corner of the house. And so it acts differently than our bedroom, my wife and I's bedroom, which is right next door. And I thought, like, they'll be the same heat wise. Like, if there's not even any heat on in that bedroom, it stays probably 60 degrees most nights when it was only 40 degrees outside. It's not like it was negative 20 or something. Um, it wasn't snowing out. Um, but yeah, well, hold on. In the comments, Mr. Movie Man, hey, you again. Wild is better water quality, no nitrates, more room to swim, more places to hide, more mating opportunities, and more social benefits. I think you're anthropomorphizing fish a little bit. I do agree that like they've evolved to live in the wild, so that's great. But also, fish a lot of times in the wild they die real quick. They live like 2 years in a lot of species rather than like 10 in the hobby. So I mean, depends on what is going on. Chase, it's so good to see you in here, man. What happened is the guest bedroom. Every room in the house has a heater that clicks on when we hit a certain temperature. We have old 1960s floorboard heaters, and this guest bedroom, my wife had turned off the automatic heater back in the summer or something, because we don't have roommate anymore. We got rid of our roommate back when we got married years ago, and we realized, oh gosh, we're heating this room for no reason. But we thought that it would still stay on the second floor, sandwiched between the top floor and the bottom floor. And the bottom floor has a guy who lives in a studio unit, that the heat would radiate up and that it wouldn't get too cold, and that every tank has a heater, if not two in it, just in case, because heaters suck. That's one thing you should know. If you've been keeping fish for any amount of time, you know that heaters are not reliable. They suck, and you should rely on the room to at least provide a livable temperature if you can. But this dropped down, and yeah, they they uh, they died. Couple plecos, two super reds, and starlight pleco, and a couple Cory catfish, I guess, and I don't know. I was just pulling fish out. My marble autocinquus, which was weird. Some fish that I really thought would be fine. I don't know if maybe one died in the water that spiked the ammonia, which stressed the fish just in that time overnight. I don't know. And Alan, I have a whole video on friends taking care of stuff on vacation for you, and I don't have my friends take care of my fish unless I'm gone more than a week. I just feed them a lot right before I leave, and like in the 3 days before, I feed them pretty heavy, steadily, and then I just do water changes and come back, because I've had more fish die because friends are like, "Oh, he looked hungry. He needed to keep eating," or "Oh, the water felt colder than 80 when I put my hand in there, but the heater said 80, so I turned it up all the way." Like, you don't know what 80 feels like, clearly. Yeah. But Pup 314, back in the 90s, I accidentally, while doing a water change, I bumped heater to 100, then went back to bed. Woke up the next morning with mist coming off the water. Oddly enough, gouramis survived, loaches survived, Corys, rasboras, tetras did not. Wow. 3 weeks is a while, Alan. Yeah. I have. Wait. Who got hidden, Betsy? Did you hide, Mr. Movie Man 174? Hey, all this is the subject. Some people don't agree better or worse, just different benefits. Wild versus in tank to fish captivity comes with benefits, does nature. Yeah, Chase, actually, I do that. Oh, and thank you very much. I will let you know if when I'm in your area. That's very nice of you. Um, uh, you can let Mr. Movie Man run his mouth and say whatever he wants on here for a minute. If he says if he says anything too crazy, I'll get back on here. I'm a big boy. He's not going to hurt my feelings if he's saying it's my fault that the fish died. I said that it's my fault that the fish died. But thank you. But thank you, Betsy, for being a sweetheart. Yes. Auto feeders work too. Yeah, auto feeders, auto feeders, in my opinion, the thing that auto feeders are best for is grow outs, and like pumping up like live bears and stuff like that. It really, like when you can't feed them because you're at work, to set the auto feed to like the opposite of your like feed them when you go to work, then 4 hours later it feeds them, then you feed them when you get off work, and then it feeds them, and then at dinner time, like that. In teeny amounts, that helps a lot. Let's see here. If I let real me out, y'all would be getting caught. Oh boy, it's getting hot. How is how is my experience with purchasing from aquatic arts? I love purchasing with aquatic arts. They have sponsored in the sense that they have given me some fish for videos when I've bought stuff and told them like, hey, I want this. They're like, oh, how about we give you this free? And you just mentioned it came from us. And I said, you know what? I will do that if my viewers get anything out of it. And so that's why if you type in secret shrimp 15, secret shrimp 15, all in caps, no spaces, you'll get 15% off. And I have always had good experiences. Their shipping for fish is a little expensive, so make sure you have a good size order, like $100 or something. But I've always had good quality fish come in from them, shrimp come in from them. Plants, I've always gotten more. I was just told that Alan Bauer just got panda loaches from them. And I think he told me, he can correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, I can turn on some lights. The sun's gone down since I started this thing, and the lights in this room suck. But Alan told me that he ordered 4, I think it was, pandagaras or panda loaches, and they sent him 5, and that's a $30 fish. So on top of the discount, and so if you let them know that you heard about it from this channel, they're really okay. He ordered 3, he got 4, so that's even better. So if you let them know that you heard about them from this channel, they're really making an effort to team up with me so that I can show off different plants, do species features, things like that. They can sell their stuff. They quarantine. There were a couple things that I didn't endorse at first until I made sure that they had changed some things. I'd heard some rumors and stuff like that. There is a bat behind me. My wife has put stuff up for Halloween. There's like I don't know, Uncle Fester or something. I don't know who it is. Yeah, aquatic arts. Preston, their main human resource or not human resource, customer service guy is really, really kind-hearted, but into the hobby, but he's also like Mr. Fix-It. If there's a problem, like I had a package that was going to sit at a distribution center, and he caught that was happening, or someone did it with them, and they had somebody deliver it to my house that day instead of sitting one more day, which was pretty great. But yeah, just mention the channel. The other thing is that I told them, if they're based out of Indianapolis, I told them that if you my idea of sponsors for this channel is that I want you guys to get something. And so there's the discount, but also I said I want to pick someone like Lucas Bretz I endorse, Flip I endorse for hard to find Caradinas, and Aquatic Arts. Those are the 3 right now that I can say I've always been happy with. They've always treated me well. And there are others that I like to use also, but those are my go-tos. Those are the ones I check first. And the other thing we're trying to do is maybe when we hit, say, 100 orders from people from the channel, at that point, then we're going to do some sort of giveaway. We still have been kicking around how big to do it. depends on how much money is brought in or spent. Um, but basically, I don't get a percentage money wise or anything like that. Like, I'm not a sponsor, sponsored affiliate or anything like that. I'm just recommending them because I've had a good experience with them, and they'll send me fish for 50% off if I have a video idea that I pitch to them. Like, hey, I'm going to talk about this fish. That's just kind of how that situation arose. But yeah, I really, really suggest them. Um, Rachel O'Leary, yeah, I suggest her too. She's a little pricey too, but to ship things well is expensive. I have to say I just unfortunately shipped 10 or 8 Corydorus and 5 green dragons. This is the other bummer that I didn't mention, and I made a whole video about it the day that it was going down, and I haven't mentioned it, but Insight Fool, I sent 8 Corrydoras and 5 little teeny baby green dragons. And the post office said that it would take basically 2.5 days. Like, it was going to be, I got there at 10 a.m. I had hoped that they would ship out at 4 p.m. on the plane like it usually does. Well, it didn't ship out until like the next morning, which was the first problem. Then it took an extra day somewhere else. So by the time all was said and done, a 2-day package ended up taking like 4 days, and it was all the fish were dead. In the 2 different bags. Even though they were in a styrofoam cooler, they were in breather bags. I made a whole video on how to ship fish, but you just can't ship fish for 4.5 days in a group. Like, if I put each fish in a bag, it would have been okay maybe because there'd still be a few alive. But, I had to put them in groups, and once one fish dies and the ammonia goes up, it's over. But yeah, so that is the other thing you guys don't know about this situation, is that I just went through that last week too. And I didn't charge her anything for the fish. We just decided that the shipping we could pay a little bit for, she could pay a little bit towards the shipping. And I mean, it wasn't even, it was just a total waste of animal life and time. I don't even really want to ship fish anymore. I'd rather do it hand to hand, but that stuff happens. That's really, really, really part of the business. It is, like, with shrimp and stuff, a lot of times they get like 90% death rates with certain species of shrimp, and they accept that, and there's a markup, and then they just take the 10% that are living and they flip them, and that's why shrimp are expensive or whatever. And same with like other fish. There's like tetras and stuff that cost literally 5 to 20 cents. Naked Reefer, thank you very much. That's very kind of you to contribute to the fish fund. That's very nice. Alan, I agree. UPS overnight is the way to go with fish. Unfortunately, it would have been like $68 or something to send her 8 Corrydoras and 5 really teeny baby plecos that were like kind of like a hope these live, but probably 1 or 2 won't, just out of the odds of baby plecos. And yeah, it wasn't worth it for her to pay an extra 60 on top of everything, or 70 on top of everything else. But people need to understand that you pay a premium because you get your fish alive. And like, if you don't want these death rates to be like they are, that's why you pay what you pay. The economics of it don't really align with the cost of life portion. Yeah, exactly. Like, there's a lot of fish that cost. Sorry, I'm in the kitchen now. There's a lot of fish that cost what, 50 cents maybe to the wholesaler, probably more like 20 cents, and they sell at your shop for $5. And it's because a lot die. You have to feed them at the shop, transport them, you have to sit on the stock, on and on. So Jewel South, I have goldfish now, only 2 in a 60, and the minimum drink hot tea and honey. Oh yeah, it will help you relax too. Love talking to them. We don't have a club here either. Oh yeah, Insight Fool One Fish Keeping. I was just talking about the poor Corys that I sent you that passed away too. That is I'm gonna end the talk for tonight here, but I just wanted to basically say, if you're keeping rare, expensive, hard to take care of fish, just basically realize that, to me anyways, if there's a million of them, like they've done studies, and cardinal tetras and neon tetras, like neon blue, neon green, neon black, they die in the dry season every year. Like they get stuck in pools, and 60, 100, whatever, how, it's too many to count. It's giant areas the size of like California that have a wet and a dry season, and they get stuck in mud puddles and they die, and they lay eggs, and the eggs live in the mud sometimes, and then rains. And Circle of Life, Lion King holding Simba up, yay. But it doesn't, like, harvesting doesn't matter in those cases. And so sure, I would rather pay people like Piaba, and there's great organizations down there in South America that are trying to organize the amount of stuff taken out and the fisheries. Right now, Brazil, we can't get any fish out of Brazil into the U.S. So where am I located? I am located in Seattle, but Betsy is in Indianapolis, or outside of there. And basically Indianapolis, I just said that because it's a pretty central location for shipping. Seattle's way out in the far corner, and so that's also why I don't like shipping stuff other than plants, because many times it takes a while. I can ship something to Florida or Britain in one day, but to get something to Redding, California, it takes 3 days. Like, go for 4 days, go figure. But long story short, I'll do a happy, or maybe not happy, but a more informing question and answer live stream soon. I want to talk a little bit about this hair. Gonna cut it. I want to talk soon about the some of the political things going on that are going to be, not like, I'm not going to pick sides, but you can do that for yourselves. But things like why we don't get catfish out of Brazil, why we're not getting things out of the Congo, why we can't get Australian fish and plants very easily, why they don't buy our fish and plants because they don't like invasive stuff, because they're an island with an ecosystem, just on and on. I wanted to talk about some of the hot spots in the world and some of the things coming up. Like if you were thinking of getting a pleco, now's a good time because they're clamping down on a lot of the collection spots. And look into your fish. Don't buy fish that are like on the red list on the IC, what's it called? ICW or the IC. There's also ICU lists and ICN lists. And then there's CITES, which is put together about trade for the trade of living animals. So like the arowana is on there, which is silly. They should allow farm-raised arowanas. That's a whole different subject. I need a shirt that says legalize arowana. Farm raised, that is. But yeah, so I'm done. Yes, IUCN. Alex, do you remember right that you have? Do I remember right that you have Cheese Creek and Yeah, I have a couple young Cheese Creeks. Yes, I do. L393. Yeah. I hope they have babies in the next 6 months. But yes, I do have a lot of plecos still. I didn't wipe out any one race of pleco or type of pleco. Right now, the green dragons, I still have a couple babies left, and I just had a whole batch of the L1 or L144, which are bright yellow ideally, and then they've got really long streamers and fins on their tail, on their fins and tails, and they're gorgeous fish. The low grade ones are confused easily with albino plecos, albino bristlenose ancestris, and but they have bright blue eyes, so sometimes they're called blue eye albino ancestris or bristlenose, and they're also a really great fish. I think even the ones that are like not as good, just like leopard frog plecos, some people want them to be bright yellow and other people want them to be stark white. It's pretty much just agreed that cream is the color you don't want. But yeah, so let me look at the events real quick. Do not cut your hair. You look cute like that. Well, thank you so much, Jewel South. Uh, Legalize marijuana. Yeah, marijuana is legal in Seattle, but arowana is not. We got a problem with that. Thank you, fake name. Hey Betsy, there's an auction here. Okay, blah blah blah. You guys are talking amongst yourselves, and I love it. So, would it be cool if I emailed you later on? Is that to me? Because yes, all of you can feel free to email me, chat with me. We have a Facebook group. It's not in the description here because I'm on the computer and it's not all set up with the beep bop boop boop. But that stuff is in any of my last videos for like the last few months. So yeah, you can find the link to the Facebook group. And I'm trying to be more active on my Instagram because I take a million pictures. I'm just lazy and I haven't been like tagging them and doing all the hashtag. Yeah, so we'll do another live stream coming up here this week for sure. Got a couple of videos I'm working on, and I want to do a video on duckweed, which I know is odd, but I have duckweed all over downstairs, and I'm so over it. But it protected my fish. It insulated my tanks. The tanks that had a ton of duckweed and water cabbage lost temperature at a 5 degree less over the course of the evening. Something to think about. But I kind of hate duckweed. I want to smash it and destroy it. And we'll talk about like what it is, where it came from, and how to defeat it. And then other than that, I have a couple $100 credit at a pet store because I sold them all my extra guppies and endlers that were just weird, like females that I didn't know which strain they were anymore, and they kind of were in the community tank. I sold all of those to a local fish store, and so I've got like I don't know $180 credit there. And so tomorrow, well, I need to get some. If he will, I'm trying to get some cash. But if I can't, which is probably the case, I'll be coming home with fish and plants and something to look at, a video to do. So everybody, thanks for joining me. This was kind of a downer thing, but it was just about taking responsibility, even though like there's not really anything I could learn from this. I know the fish shouldn't be freaking cold. It was an oversight. So it's just be careful, love your critters. I don't regret keeping them in general, but it does make me think twice about like if even if I had the money, would I have an arapaima? I don't know. Like maybe not. Maybe those just are too magnificent and big and need to be in the wild. But nanofish, I like keeping them. I want to learn to raise them. I want to keep them going in the hobby without having to steal them out of the wild. Like, let's work as a fish fam to do that. Yeah. So, all right, you guys, take care. Somebody else was talking. Yeah, they need a lake. They do. They need like 2,000-gallon tanks. Somebody asked what was up with the Alexander J. Williamson at gmail.com. That's my email. That's my personal email. So please don't spam. I just said that. Now it's going to happen. But if you need to get a hold of me, that's like my literal work email for graphic design and stuff. And I'll answer you there. As long as it doesn't get thrown in the junk mail. But the reason Betsy was posting that was because we had a chat and we were both noticing that YouTube takes like a good old chunk of proceeds from super chats and even Patreon too. And I think PayPal takes 2% and the government still wants taxes on it, but which is like 27% or something like that, or 32%, somewhere between there, depending on how you write it off. So that email was attached to my PayPal is why she listed it. Long story short, Bob, I'm so glad you joined us, but I'm leaving, Bob. That's so good to see you with a little wrench next to your name, Bob. Warms my heart, the cockles of my heart. I hope all of you guys take good care of your fish, take good care of each other, and just don't forget the little things, like to turn the thermostat on now that it's winter. Really gonna miss those little fish. If I could, I'd have a montage of me getting the little fish and them swimming and me feeding them by hand and going, whoa, that's scary. They bite hard. Christine Lanier, Lanier. I don't know. In any case, I have to go. My wife will be home shortly, and I need to go bury my fish. Not flushing them down the toilet. They're going out in the garden. So yeah. Oh, wrapping up your tubs tonight. Good call, Bob. I just didn't realize my house got so cold. Okay. Well, I will talk to all of you later. I'm working on it. Was the sound and video quality of this any different than other streams before I leave? Because I got a new mic that's like an omnidirectional one. Oh yeah. Okay. So sound is good. Don't know about the video quality. Huh. Okay. Yeah, it looks a little grainy to me and stuff. So and it's not dark in here. But okay. And this wouldn't work downstairs at all. So I couldn't like show you guys the fish. And that's like a bummer. Maybe I could set up like a relay camera downstairs. I don't know. That's a lot of work. But perhaps during certain live streams, we'll go with this instead of the camera looking at everything else. But okay, guys, take care of yourselves. Take care of your fish. Take care of business. Take me out to the ball game. And I'll talk to you guys later. Good night. And thanks again for your support and approval. Bye bye.